with the ability to squeeze the life from its victims and eat prey bigger than its own head. The reticulated python is definitely deadly. Along the river, the rainforest looks untouched. But you don't have to go far to be confronted with the challenges facing our crocs and pythons.
There's a temptation to think that forest is just forest, but that couldn't be further from the truth. There's lots and lots of different kinds. Rainforests like this are absolutely bursting with life. There's so much living here, but here in Borneo, sadly, the forest is making way for endless plantations that go on pretty much over the entire island.
In the last 30 years, Borneo's forests have changed dramatically. The jungle has been cut down and replaced by one particular crop: oil palm.
It's alarming how little forest there actually is close to the river. It's only a couple of 100 meters back from the water, and then you just hit this huge expanse of oil palm or palm oil plantations. And, you know, it still looks green, it still looks like life. But in terms of what's actually living there, this is night and day. What you've got here is what's known as monoculture. Mono means single, and monoculture is where you have just one plant being grown in an area. And because you have just this one plant here, as opposed to the thousands of different plants that you have in the forest, there's very little life.
In Borneo alone, palm oil plantations now cover an area larger than Scotland. And it's all because of what grows on these trees.
This is the fruit of the oil palm, and it's one of the most important plants and fruits on the planet because it's incredibly oily. If you can see that on my fingers, just about everything you can possibly imagine comes out of that little humble nut.
The brightly coloured oil palm fruits are harvested all year round. Collected by huge trucks, they're transported to large factories around the world to be processed.
So when you squeeze down the palm fruit and the nut kernel inside, this is what you get. This is actual palm oil. And it looks kind of like any other vegetable oil. It's runny and yellow and doesn't look massively appetizing, but this is used in just about everything. To get a sense of some of the stuff that you find palm oil in, I got all of my crew to go through their kit and see what they've got. And everything's got palm oil in it. So we've got biscuits. Go down through the ingredients and yeah, palm oil. We've got chocolate. All the chocolate's got palm oil in it. We've got shampoo. Shampoo has got palm oil in it. Toothpaste has palm oil in it.
And this is the problem. To supply the world with all the oil it needs to make these different products requires more plantations to grow the fruit. And that's leading to more and more of the jungle being cut down.
As the forest goes, it's not leaving any space for wildlife.
To find out more about some of the animals that are most affected, I've come to a conservation centre in the north of the country.
As the forests of Borneo are swept away to make way for the plantations, so many of the wild animals that used to call those jungles home all of a sudden are left without a place to go. Many of them are rescued, including these Bornean sun bears.
They might look cuddly, but you wouldn't want a hug from this bear. With large 10-centimetre claws, they rip open termite mounds with ease and climb even the tallest trees to feast on their favourite foods.
Right now what it's doing is rolling back its upper lip and lifting its nose, and that's classically to engage its sense of smell. Bears have the best sense of smell of any mammal, And some of them can smell food from many miles away. That just lifting its nose and just...
In the wild, male sun bears need an area of jungle the size of almost 2,000 football fields to find enough food to survive, spending as much time up in the trees as they do on the forest floor.
Boy, that was close. That was some serious bear gymnastics. Oh, gone. He's just looking down like, what? I worked really hard for that.
She's not going to give up on dinner that easily.
Just at the end of this branch is one single piece of fruit just hanging there. And you can see her just kind of trying to reel it in. Go on, girl, you can do it. Yes, nice work.
As skilled and adaptable as these sun bears are, as the forests disappear, so does their home and all their favourite foods. And it's not just their problem. Other species are also at risk.
Of all the animals facing extinction here in Borneo, there's one whose story really stands out. First of all, because it's the best loved and best known of all the animals here, but secondly, and perhaps more importantly, because it's one of our closest relatives. It's the orangutan.
7 times stronger than a human, and with a 2-metre arm span to swing through the forest. The orangutan is Asia's only great ape. But right now, they're struggling to survive. We've already lost over half the Bornean orangutan population in the last 60 years. If deforestation continues, rescuing babies like this one and nursing them back to health will be their only chance.
Because orangutan are so closely related to us, it's very possible for us to transmit our diseases to them. So while I'm close to these animals, I'm going to be wearing protective gloves and a mask as well. So any pathogens I might have can't be passed on to these very valuable and vulnerable animals.
I'm meeting 2 baby orangutans, both rescued when their mothers were killed on plantations.
These 2 youngsters are 4 and 3 years old.
Here, they'll be looked after, with keepers teaching them the skills their mother would have done.
Seeing them being led by the hand like that is exactly how I lead my baby son around. Hey, hello. What's your name? The name orang-hutan in Malay means person of the forest. And this is such a well-adapted animal to living in the treetops. This is the world's largest arboreal mammal, that is, tree-living mammal. The males can be absolutely huge and yet still be utterly at home up in the treetops. Although their red-orange fur looks to us to be quite obvious, if you put them into an environment that is quite dark and shaded and you get reflections off the trees and through the leaves, actually they blend in really, really well. And silhouetted up against the sky like this, they can pretty much disappear. Watching these 2 tussle together, it's so playful. So much like a pair of human siblings, brother and sister, battling away, just scrapping with each other. And all of a sudden, the second you see the problem here through their eyes, that's when it starts to become real. The fact that we could lose not only these ancient forests, but the animals that live in them for the sake of one single product is, to me, one of the great catastrophes of the modern world.
But palm oil isn't something we can just stop using altogether. It's complicated. Farmers need to grow it to provide an income for their families. And as a product, it's super efficient. Growing other oils like sunflower or coconut would need 10 times more forest to be cut down. But there are other options. We can produce palm oil sustainably, in a way that doesn't cause this destruction. I'm going to see for myself how being more sustainable is already having a beneficial effect.
I would love to be able to stop deforestation tomorrow and completely replant Borneo with trees, but that's not going to happen. There is, however, a way to do palm oil in a way that doesn't make it impossible for things to live there. Being here on the Kinabatangan, there is a very narrow strip of forest alongside the river, and that's enough for animals to move up and down. It's a perfect wildlife corridor. Imagine if you could do the same inside the palm oil plantations. Effectively having lines, corridors of trees in amongst the palm oil. That could be enough for things like orangutans to survive.
In addition to corridors, plantations can be sustainable by providing habitats for animals on a much smaller scale.
The main enemy of wildlife is too much tidiness. So having an area that's completely empty of vegetation, obviously nothing can live there. But inside the plantations, if you don't tidy up too much, then eventually little habitats start forming. So where these old palm fronds fall, the woody parts of these can lie there for years, not breaking down. And underneath all of that can become a really good home for frogs and lizards. And then as the trees themselves start to decompose and fall over, eventually you form little caves and caverns underneath.
Under this oil palm tree, snake expert Rich is protecting a deadly favourite that's taken up residence.
Well, that is not something you see every day. It's a female reticulated python, and she's on her eggs. Unfortunately, there are a few here which look like they're kind of old and dried up, but underneath her are the eggs that she's protecting. So this is a palm oil tree that's fallen down, and where the roots have come up, they've left a sort of alcove, a hollow, and this little place in here has formed a perfect habitat for our reticulated python to look after her eggs.
It just goes to show that wildlife corridors and a little bit of mess can help nature find a way to survive.
Deadly.
With potential solutions available, I want to show you just why I care so deeply about protecting these forests. And the best way to do that is from the very top of the trees themselves.
So it's not possible to just monkey climb up the tree. Instead, what we're going to have to do is use the world's greatest ever catapult to get ropes up the tree. So I've got this, I've got a weighted shot bag, and if I can fire this over a decent-sized branch, then I can use it to haul up the ropes. Let's give it a go. Shot one. Oh, massively undercooked it. That was rubbish. This can be quite a long process. You may want to go and make yourself a cup of tea. I could be here a while. Shot two. Oh, just short. That was a good line, though. Good line. Just not quite getting enough welly. Shot three. Go on, go on, go on, go on. Oh! That was really close. Really close.
But practice makes perfect.
Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. Yes! Come on! Gone! Absolute genius. Now, all we have to do is attach a bigger rope, and I head up there.
With a bit more climbing kit, I'm ready to go.
Right. I'll see you up above the clouds. It's always kind of tricky maneuvering yourself around these dead branches because some of them can be very, very heavy, which would be super, super dangerous for anyone below. So I'm going careful. Oh, this is stunning. So we're now up into the canopy, which is kind of the business end of the rainforest. This is where the vast majority of the life is and where most of the leaves are to generate all the energy for the trees. So most of the trees get this far, but no further. Ours just keeps on going.
At 40 meters tall, our tree sticks out above the rest of the jungle. It's what's known as an emergent. Now I've just got the last little bit to go.
We're here, up above the treetops, above the canopy, and with the most sensational view. That way I can see all the way out to the river. In that direction, I can see mountaintops. This is literally the best place in the rainforest. Absolutely sensational.
Having climbed this wonderful tree, I'm going to do something really special. I'm sleeping up here overnight.
The sun setting, beautiful colour to the sky. You just never see this when you're down below, completely surrounded by trees. And I can hear endless frogs, bugs, a few calls from the last few birds as they're getting ready to roost. Right, let's see if I can get some sleep. It's just starting to get light, and there are amazing sounds just ringing through the forest. Lots of calls from birds, starting up with their very first call of the morning. And the bugs. But the nicest of all of them is the singing of the gibbons. It's just beautiful sound that just stretches over the top of the forest. It's like the most incredible orchestra ever. I felt like the king of the world up here tonight. Sounds like Mark the cameraman's coming up to join me. Good morning, Mark.
Room for one more?
I hope you brought me some breakfast.
I've just bought a camera and a light.
How am I going to eat a camera?
It's the ultimate room with a view. The perfect panorama of a fabulous, fragile forest world.
Every single one of these trees could be hundreds of years old and is a home, a habitat to so many different kinds of animals. Each one is precious, and to lose any one of them seems like a tragedy, but here in Borneo, we're losing thousands every single day. If all of this was to disappear, it would be the greatest tragedy. But there are things we can do. I think palm oil is here to stay, but there are different ways of doing palm oil. It doesn't have to mean that every single bit of forest has to disappear. It doesn't have to mean that all the animals have to go. Just like with your back garden, if you want to make your garden friendly for wildlife, you leave some spots that are messy and wild. We have to do the same here in Borneo. If we don't, then animals like the orangutan have no chance.